All right, we are recording.
All right. What's going on, guys? It's a pleasure to be here. This is actually a pretty special call. We have one of our community members who's hailing from. Oops. Sorry, we're going to restart that. Obviously, it's been echoing. What's going on, guys? Mark here. This is actually a pretty special call and meeting. We have one of our community members here on the call to join us, who hails from Montreal.
Hi guys.
Glad to
Hi.
have you.
Hello, welcome.
Thank you.
So let's get started. Tim, would you be able to give us, I guess, an update as to what has been going on the development side? We also, by the way, have Awasika, who has been helping out a lot with QA and some of the marketing sprints, and we also have James Murillo, who's been doing a lot of the PR and content management. So really excited to have everyone here. We also want to give some of our thoughts to our team members who are down in West Palm Beach in Florida. They're about to get hit by a Category 4 hurricane. So we'll find out if they lose power or not. Hopefully, the state of Florida is not underwater. Anyway, Tim, let's get rolling.
Sure. So, hey everyone, really excited to be here. We have lots going on, and there's tons to talk about. So, very briefly, just wanted to hit some of our main bullet points that we had. First off, the team is growing developmentally. We have some new members to welcome. So they are two blockchain engineers. One is Vijay Sharma, and the other one is Oluwafemi Akinde. One from India and one from Nigeria. So we're also expanding various locations across the Hydro ecosystem. So it's nice to have all of these different skill sets joining the team. So team's getting bigger, which is awesome. And that's really helpful when we have such a variety of development streams, concurrent development streams that we have going on. We have our HydroPay P2P payments application, which many of you are familiar with right now. So that has actually been a really nice evolution of development, and we are working on top-up functionality right now, which is complete on the UI side of things. We have some meta transactions in the background, which Awasika can talk about in a few moments, just on some of the back-end server side. So there's quite a bit involved in any time that you're moving around, real life tokens, and we want to make sure that from all different angles, whether it's security, stability, scalability, architecture, ease of use, making sure that it's natural for people to know where to find things and interact with it. All of those boxes really need to get checked off. So we've gone through tedious QA and picking things apart and making sure that things are meeting all of those developmental checkboxes. So that is looking to be in really good shape. So we'll jump back to that in just a few moments. But there are a few other things going on as well at a high level. So we've been working since February on our Hail smart contract, and this is our security tokenization smart contract. And this was posted to our community GitHub through the HCDP program. So back in February, this was posted for a pretty sizable bounty that has various requirements of what you might see inside a smart contract for tokenization. So it's defining rules, KYC, AML approval, limiting owners, restricting transfers, locking up periods of the token. So we made this post on our GitHub, and over the course of a couple of weeks, we allowed it to kind of stew and have the ability for applications to come in. So every single time that something gets posted to our GitHub that has the ability for someone to say they want to work on it for a bounty, we need to make sure that they meet the qualifications. We need to interview them. We need to compare and contrast with other team members. If it's a bigger type project like Hail really is. We need to look at, does this make sense to have 2 developers working on it from different parts of the world? Or do you find an agency that's capable of having teams of developers or different capacities there for various project management, for daily check-ins, weekly wrap-up meetings, sprint planning, things like that. So we went with a blockchain Ethereum development shop called Eternity.live, and we've been working extremely close since then. And they've done a fantastic job, and we had that delivered on Tuesday. So we're right now going under the microscope, making sure that from what we see, at least at a high level, and even lower than that, is meeting all of the requirements, checked off all the boxes, and so forth. The next step for us there is to get that done through to get it looked at through a third-party auditing company or team of developers in that field that can take a look at things to make sure that they meet the security requirements and make sure that there's no vulnerabilities inside any of the smart contracts. So that was really excited to see. They are fantastic to work with, and their development team also, which I personally liked, is they're very diverse as well. A lot of them are based in South America, I believe, and they have various. I think I put it in my notes here. There's a few different countries involved, so I really like that, and that extends our decentralization and our ecosystem there. On the other ends of things, which I know people are definitely very excited to hear about, is the dApp Store. The dApp Store has been going through rounds of QA testing, and feedback has been gathered on that, and we've applied those updates to the code base. So really excited to see that. The next steps there is we're right now preparing it for mainnet. So we have a working dApp Store on testnet right now, where you can transact with various resolvers or dApps, and we're going to be getting that out the door. Regarding the dApp Store, I actually can show a demo, but I'd like to have some of the other team members give some updates on things, and we can hit that in just a little bit. But the dApp Store is really exciting. That was also a community development project that is also in its wrap-up phases for phase 1, and we'll be moving into other phases as well. And then another thing I just wanted to hit on the development side of things, outside of our awesome updates that we've been working hard to provide you consistently, is our Discord, where a lot of our developers hang out and share very technical questions if they're working with Raindrop or they're trying to figure out why an API call is not working or returning a callback, or you're working on a smart contract. This is sort of a space that developers can hang out for Hydro, and also other projects. A lot of other projects can join in if we're partnering with various places. It's a nice place just to hang out and talk about Hydro development. So in a nutshell, there's a lot going on. We also have Ice and Vault and other things that have lots to also talk about. But let's share some of this around right now, and I'll hand this off to someone else.
Awesome. So I was seeking, why don't you jump in and give everyone an idea as to what has gone on in terms of QA for the most part over, I guess, the last couple months, last couple weeks, where we've been doing a lot of QA both at the community level and internal.
Okay, thanks everybody. Thanks, Matt. All right, seems now. Okay, let's Okay, let me quickly roll back to dApp Store and share eyes going there. Okay, I was one that supervised the dApp Store QA, and from the old test and everything we did, everything looks good from there, and that's what leads to the updates that team will be giving later, not before we round up this call, because we had a number of tests both internally and a number of community guys join us to do the QA. And on the QA front too, we have a number of volunteers that decided to join the QA team. So we are going to be with HR. We are going to be communicating with them within the next coming week to bring them up as volunteers QA. That way, we are looking to speed up the QA process both internally. Then we can do externally. Okay. So now on HydroPay is moving fast. I know a number of people have been worried about top up and top up. I can say sincerely, I've received tons of DMs asking about top up. Hey, I paid, I sent in, I do for top up, I've not seen it in 4 days. It's actually been a tedious process. That's why the app has made it better. The truth is, we don't want to launch something that we would be disappointed about. That's why we are taking our time to test with the community, with the users. And also now, I was showing the team the top up functionality about some 30 minutes ago for my own personal application, which I've been using for the top up test. My top up wallet is already displaying, and my top up wallet displaying. If I'm with the way it's processed now is, let me just quickly share this. Immediately everyone pays into the top up, we are supposed to scan the wallet. There is an automatic scan that happens every 5 minutes. Then once that is done, the method of transaction is meant to pay each person the exact amount of token they pay into their Snowflake ID. And the method of transaction part is what we are concluding now. From what I was able to get from the developer today, by next week, I shall have my hand on it together with the QA team. We're testing them before pushing to the community. And I think I heard iOS, HydroPay is coming to iOS in the coming week, hopefully. So things are moving fast on our side. We just want to be sure that we don't launch something that we will regret later. And so that is update on HydroPay for now. Thank you very much.
Awesome. Well, Gilbert and Kat, do you guys want to jump in and ask any questions? I know we wanted to have one of the biggest supporters for Hydro and obviously one of the biggest critics for the project. And I would love to get some questions that you guys have, different types of feedback that you've had at the community level, because this is your guys' project, and want to get some of the questions that you have directly from you.
So yeah, I can go with my questions.
Sure, go for it.
All right. So long time ago, Marco said we are currently testing HydroX with Bittrex and Bitzo. Coinbase and Binance will be next up for testing. Any news about that?
Yeah, so we've actually been doing a lot of testing for HydroX. So I was actually on a call specifically talking about an integration for it last night with a company in the Philippines. And they were actually really excited to hear about it. And we're actually going to be integrating with a bunch of different APIs to enable some of these different types of transfers. And we've pretty much finished with a lot of the internal QA and testing for HydroX with a lot of the different APIs. And we're now focused on actually building that product directly into HydroPay. So previously, we were going to have completely separate applications. So you were going to have HydroPay, and we were going to have HydroX. So HydroPay is the app that you guys are very familiar with, which is that permissionless, gasless P2P payment application. And we also have HydroX, which is the cross-border or remittance payments application. And we were like, well, why would we build these two really cool products and have them be completely separate applications? So we were building in all of the functionalities for HydroX directly into HydroPay. So it's you can think of it as an all-inclusive payment application. So instead of having to go and use multiple applications, they can just go and use one. So that's what we are currently working on for that. Pretty much all of the internal testing for HydroX is pretty much finished. So we are currently building out how that implementation process is going to function.
Awesome. Next question. Oh. Okay. What's happening? That program that AODG was building to bring more developers. I don't remember the name, but
the HCDP program.
Yeah.
Okay. Tim, do you want to jump in and talk about that? With now a lot of developers involved.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, sure. So that's the HCDP program. It's the Hydro Community Development Program. This was initially started by Hydrogen, and when we sort of got handed the reins, we have been running that for the community for quite some time now. That, to be quite honest, it's a really valuable part of the program, and it's been very integral to a lot of the development that we've done on the smart contract level for the past few months. There's a lot of things that we're actually doing right now to be very thoughtful about how we can potentially make it better as well, especially with the price of how tokens work and how whether this is pegged to USD or a different currency or something like that, so we can make sure that both the developer and Hydro Labs can feel good at the end of the day about paying a developer for something that can take a few months to make, where you're committing to a bounty total a couple months ago. So we're looking for ways to improve those types of things, and we're actually working. I'm working on that right now. So the bounty program itself created Hail, which got delivered to us actually on Tuesday, and also 2 months ago we probably had one of the biggest active months for the community program. We had our interest payments contract, our subscription payments, couponing, random lottery dynamics. We've had a lot of really cool ideas come from that program as well, whether it was things that were just us putting out there requesting for development work on, or if it was the community proposing ideas that actually can get turned into tasks themselves. Anyone can create a there's a little audio feedback. Anyone can propose and create a task that's on our GitHub. It doesn't have to just come from Hydro Labs or Hydrogen or anything else like that. So that's really neat because, and it usually starts off in our brainstorming section where someone has an idea, maybe it has some legs that can turn it into a task. If that's the case, it'll be treated like any other task that we've posted before, and we will make sure that requirements are definitely defined that adds value to the ecosystem. Because when you think about it, Hydro literally is laying down a piece of highway, and every single time that we can get community development to be worked on, this highway gets extended brick by brick or mile by mile, and that allows more companies and more third parties and open source projects to be built on top of it. So the HCDP program has really allowed that to happen because it allows developers, especially when the dApp store comes out, they're going to have some really cool smart contracts to utilize. And especially like coming from a background as a developer myself, it's really nice to not have to reinvent the wheel every single time. So coming as a developer in a new marketplace where a developer now has this new store and this new marketplace where they can start taking their idea and turning it into something that's functional using Hydro as its core foundation, having a lot of these tools in their tool belt it's pretty sweet. This way development time gets sped up. You're working on it's no longer hello world applications. You can skip a few steps, and now you have a functioning product and prototype. So the HCDP program has been very helpful to jumpstart a lot of that, and it allows a lot of discussion going into Discord where people are saying, all right, hey, there's this cool smart contract that's out there. How can I integrate it with my idea, with my project? So I think that that's been a really good program so far. I've been heavily involved in that since my time here, since last August. And so I'm in Discord a lot, and I'll just look at my tab, just like Telegram, how there's just various messages going forth, checking in on projects, making sure that these tasks are getting completed, they're on track, do they have any questions, do we need to look at architecture and how to accomplish this, are we going to meet the deadline, various things like that. So I'm looking to see that continue and to grow a lot of these mechanisms that can speed up and have a portfolio of things that can be involved. And I reference the dApp store specifically because it's going to be basically an immediate way where people can start utilizing these contracts that exist. And the more they get done, the more tools in the toolbox for the developer. So you can think about it as someone looking to build something. They can say, okay, I want subscription payments, I want this, and they have a really good platform and a baseline to get up and running. So hopefully that answered some of your questions along that. But again, also we are making some positive changes that we're going to be applying to that to make sure that it's continuing to be worthwhile for both the developer and the community.
Awesome. Awosika, do you want to jump in? There was a question from Carlos, and he said, I'd like to ask how Hydro Labs will create revenue to continue building the ecosystem. If they generate revenue, will it just be Hydro or fiat as well?
Okay, I would like to say a number of things here. I believe one of the things we discussed in the dApp Store channel was at some point we are going to be monetizing the dApp Store. We are going to be making some revenues from the dApp Store, not monetizing it, so please don't get it wrong. Then I'm sure Remittance is going to be giving us some good money too. HydroX feature is not going to be entirely free, or let me say it's not going to be free. And the one thing that the team did with the solution team, I know a number of times we have mentioned solution team, and we've actually been pushing back and forth. But at the moment, solution team is done. Everything is going live by Monday. And what we intend to do is to make it an enterprise stuff completely, whereby we offer solutions to enterprise, just like IBM and Consensus will do. We offer the enterprises some solutions that we build up for them. We receive payments in BTC, ETH, and Hydro, so it's not going to be just entirely Hydro this time. We're taking payment both in fiat, whichever currency they have to pay us, we take them. Then that's one way we are going to be making revenue from the team. So we have a number of revenue model. I'm sure apart from the solution team, we are open to, presently we are already discussing with a number of guys that are seeking for a solution for the solution team, thanks to Mark and a number of guys that are pushing that. And one funny thing I was discussing with the team earlier is that we are looking to see even the community members refer projects. We are not going to be labeling it any special thing. Now, if the community team refer projects or get them into our pipeline, you get a fee for doing that, then we make the money to grow the ecosystem. So we actually have a number of revenue models to grow the community. Thanks very much, Mark.
Cool. Awesome. Cap, I know you've been popping in and out with muting and unmuting your mic. Do you want to jump in and ask any questions?
Yeah, can you hear me, guys?
Can hear you loud and clear.
Can hear you.
Yes.
Okay. Thanks for inviting me to this discussion. I've been part of the Hydro community for quite a while, and yeah, I must say that the Hydro ecosystem has gone up and down, but I think that the heart and soul of the project, I think for me, is with the community. So, but generally, I just have a few observations, and then I have some questions that really would need some answering.
Sure.
But first thing first, I see that I checked on the Hydro project website, and I see that it's a big team. But I see Team R, I see Mark, I see Ayodeji, and I see Saurav, and I'm wondering where the rest of the guys are. That's
Sure.
my first observation.
Sure. Do you want me to jump in and answer that right now?
Yeah.
Sure. So we have developers and we have team members who are spread over all around the globe, and obviously getting everyone in on one call typically doesn't happen very frequently, mostly because everyone jumps in and is working in their own department. So, for example, if I'm working with the sales and biz dev team, I'm not going to have all of the developers and some of the PR and CM people joining in on that call. And likewise for some of the PR CM calls, usually don't join in on those. For some of the product calls and things like that, we necessarily don't need everyone to join in on the call, just so we can have people continuing to do work in the background while we have from people coming out and answering different questions and allowing for people to know what's going on behind the scenes if we're not transparent enough.
Okay. Well, first, guys, I would really like to commend you on your recent partnership with Liquid. I think it's a good one, and in particular, I like to commend Mr. Ayodeji Awosika. This guy has been really. I think that what I noticed with him is that he joined the group when I was far back. I think somewhere last year. And he became an integral part of the community and and joined the DA program. But he's really hardworking, and with my discussion with several members of the community of channel, there is this. When I ask people who are the hardworking members of the Hydro community, they say Ayodeji is one of those people. And you go to the group, he's answering questions. And, he doesn't push it too hard. He doesn't try to, he always knows what he wants to say. And I must commend you for a job well done. And Mark, thank you very much for also the work that you have really done. And I think that you've done a fantastic job. So far, at least, you have a way of answering questions. You have a way of understanding criticisms. And answering the community and giving us the right feedback. And I think for me, that defines the quality of a great leader. But for me, I feel that there are a lot of things that are really not going well, right? Some members of the team, some team members, do not take kindly to constructive criticism, whether it is constructive or not. For them, they feel that it is FUD. So, how would a community member, how would somebody as a team member begin to delete comments made by other community members? I give you an example. When we started managing this community, the Hydro community, without any admin or anything, so a couple of us would just assume administrative duties, But when we wanted somebody banned, we would call the attention of Mike, or we would call Andy Cholian, and Andy will come on and they will ban the person, But it wasn't really such that was what made the community really very interesting, because I feel that Hydro was created to be a community project. And the reason I say this is because when we first got listed on Talk and Store, and then we moved to market to Ethos, to Market Talks, and then to CoinX. You could see a serious community vibe at the time. But after a while, this died. And this is because you guys need to strike a balance between going corporate and having a community feeling. I understand that, we gotta go corporate in order to be successful, to wear the ties and look very, very, corporate and all that. But I think that there is need for us to really strike a balance of making it very comfortable community to discuss. CryptoCan is doing a great job, but I feel he gets really agitated sometimes when people ask certain questions. All right. I do not know if he is not qualified enough to answer those questions, but the community should be such that it's open for everybody to say things, but certain things that are out of the way is when you say certain things about certain community members directly or to team members directly, or you call their integrity to order, then or you're questioning certain the credibility of certain individuals, then we can say, well, that is FUD and things like that, and discussion of specific prizes and things like that. You go to the Hydro supporters group and discuss those things. But certain discussions that are related to to the exchanges, but there are certain discussions that can relate to the exchange, but yet are integral part of the discussion and success of Hydro. So the team needs to really understand this kind of and to know, okay, well, is this an FUD question, or it's simply a question that is that is an integral part of that's questioning the management of Hydro. All right. Now, I think we've moved so far a long way to where we've come at this moment. And to be honest, I wanted to know who the president of this community is, of this management is. Who is the management? Who is the president?
Sure. So can I sort of start with all of the, I guess, questions and observations that you've brought up? Because I think there are a few different things, and I'd love to. I love all the topics and things that you brought up, and I'd love to try and touch on all of them. So if I don't touch on any of them, please let me know, and I can jump back.
I have specific questions, though. Don't worry about it.
Sure. So the first one that you said was about deleting messages and things like that, and I think you mentioned something about CryptoCat. I would prefer to not have anything negative said about him, mostly because he's just a community member. He's never been brought on to the team. He's just been a very active community member like yourself, and he just said, "Hey, I've been helping out in the community for over a year now, and if you guys need any help in the Telegram group, I'm more than happy to help." And we see that he's done a fairly good job, and we're extremely appreciative for everything that he has done, because he's just volunteered to do it, just going and answering questions and sort of helping out in the group. So I couldn't be more thankful for what he has done and how he has tried to help in the community and with the project as a whole. And if there are things that are getting deleted, usually it's around people cursing or saying typically just false accusations. If it's things outside of that, typically they just don't get deleted. If they are, feel free to just let us know, and we'll fix that problem. And it's not something that should necessarily be that hard to change. One of the other questions that you had was in terms of talking about price and exchanges in the main group. So one of the things that if you are fairly comfortable, or I shouldn't say comfortable, familiar with the aspect of talking about price when you are someone who is working at the protocol and token level. If you are familiar with a project that is called Veritasium or Veritasium, they recently got sued by the SEC about 2 weeks ago for going and talking about where the price could go, where they think it's going to go, and essentially talking about price discussions. It can lead to very difficult things for people at the regulatory level. So it's not necessarily that we don't want to. Like, I would love to try and talk to different community members about where I think I see the project going in terms of price, because we have a vested interest in that because we get nothing other than Hydro. So obviously we do want to see that be a beneficiary. And we're not really able to go and openly talk about those things just because of the regulatory framework right now. And so that's why we have to avoid and not talk about those types of questions. And in terms of exchanges, we're not really able to talk about that for a lot of NDA purposes, because if you do begin to go and talk about any type of exchange that you are communicating with or bring up a name, then that entire listing agreement can just go completely under the table. So we can say like, hey, we are communicating with exchanges, hey, like things are moving well, but really outside of that, we can't really say a whole lot, unfortunately. Obviously, I wish that I could, because typically I'm the person who is communicating with pretty much all of the exchanges. And then Marco has actually jumped in recently with a lot of discussions because it's been a lot of things in terms of remittance payments. So we've been having him jump in and on some of the calls and helping out with some of the communication, building out some of the decks for those exchanges that we're working on doing some integrations with. And outside of saying that, we can't really say a whole lot more, unfortunately, just because of NDAs and market manipulation, right? Because obviously you don't want to get arrested. And then your final question was who the president of Hydro Labs is right now, and the community.
Don't worry about that question because no, it's okay about that question because I have that question framed up elsewhere. Okay. My first question actually is about the voting process.
Okay.
The team voting process. How do you vote yourselves? How do you come about? How did the management come about?
Sure.
I know that when the DA project came up, and a lot of people joined the DE project. The idea was to be there were time limits, if I understand correctly.
There were time limits. Is that what you're saying?
Understanding, we are supposed to the community is supposed to be involved in voting, but to be very honest with you. Unless there's something that I do not know, that I do not understand. I checked on your website and I see maybe you guys are not more than 20 because you are not up to 20. So I understand how you do the vote. How do you vote for yourselves?
So
you comment on that?
Sure. In terms of like people joining the team.
Yes, because there were recent elections, if I understand correctly, and in respect to that, somebody, I think a community member raised the issue that the application should be made open for the community members to be able to participate, right? Yeah. So that if anybody has an interest, because within that community, I believe there are people that are very, very capable of running some of the things that are going on in that community, because I know that there are people that are on the sideline and simply watching, but they would like to participate and be part of the team. But when you make it simply a thing between the current DA members that were original DA members, you continue to vote yourself into the system without circulating other members, other community members to be able to be involved, then I think it defeats the purpose of decentralization, in fact.
Sure.
So I don't know if you have anything to say to that.
Sure. So when the whole DA program initially started, it was known as a decentralization ambassador. And the way that was built out was because hydrogen is located in the US, they weren't really able to focus on the layer 2 anymore and building out smart contracts and protocols. So that's why they had I guess myself and some of the other team members to they just invited anybody in the community to go and apply to join the DA program. So the initial 10 people were selected by Hydrogen to join this program. and we had, I believe it was myself, Awasika, Robert, I think Tim, Marco, Lenny, Harsh, I think Richa was another. I might be missing one or two, and hopefully they don't get mad at me. And they were the initial people to join this decentralization initiative. And from there, we started to create essentially an entirely new company, because you have to have some type of infrastructure to run this type of project and organization, which in of itself is not easy. And from there, we invited anybody in the community to go and apply to join. And it was the DA team members who were brought on by Hydrogen, who were then able to interview everyone who has applied, and they reviewed all of the different CVs, resumes, and application letters that were sent in. We've gone through a lot of different interviews with different people, and we feel that we've brought on a lot of, I don't want to say like-minded, because to say that you have like-minded individuals within a company, typically not a very good thing. You want to have people that are able to disagree, and by having people who disagree, it allows for finding the best solution possible, because we're a very multicultural and very different organization. If you look at our team, there's probably not two team members who are similar in what they do, what their hobbies are, and what they have interests in, which is a very cool thing. So we're all exploring this, having different opinions and ideas on what we need to do, which allows for us to get different insights and obviously have the best outcome for any input that is brought into the organization. So we're obviously still allowing for anyone to go and apply to join. We're not ever going to really say no. If any organization says we're not hiring, like we don't want to hire any more people, then they're crazy. Because we operate in a DAO. So everyone within the team is able to go and apply for a new position within the team. So, for example, we originally had a vote at the beginning of the year, so at the beginning of 2019, where we had a vote where we voted different people within the Hydro team to fill different positions. For example, I ended up becoming the head of business development. We had Marco, who ended up leading the marketing side of things. We had Tim, who ended up leading the HCP and development. We had Robert, who was the president at the beginning of the year. We had Joel, who was the vice president. And then after 6 months, we had another vote. And believe it or not, a lot of the positions changed. And what's the beauty of that? It's to allow for the team to have the best people in the different positions as possible. And people can realize this isn't something that I think that I'm cut out for. I think we have other people who are more passionate and are able to fill this position better. So, for example, we had new people come into new positions within the team. We had Marco ended up being the Gen Ops manager. So he was a similar position to what Robert had previously. Robert ended up being our financier. We had Harsh, who is our head of development right now. And then we have myself. I'm still running the business development and sales departments. So it's obviously all changing. And that's sort of the beauty of how a DAO functions. So we can always have people from within the team to all have the same input, and allow for the best people to be put into different positions as possible.
Okay. As a follow-up,
Sorry, kind of wanted to add something to what Mark was said.
Okay.
So I think I do understand the angle where the question is coming from, and within the team, I'm sure everybody, all of us, will agree that we have actually looked at creating an actually voting system for the community to join in and do things. But on a very sincere note, you will all agree with me that centralization is just coming up, and a whole number of work is actually going to be in place to get it all straight. I remember at the time when we were still using DAs, we have applied to a number of things. I think Mark had a feedback one time reaching out to an exchange who told him to go and get his boss to come and talk to them. That they didn't want to talk to an ambassador, they prefer to talk to somebody in the team. So it's actually a growing process, and that's why at best we can, we are giving feedback to the community, discussing with them with a group one-on-one, and see that we can get input as best as we can get. Thank you.
Okay. Thanks for your feedback, though. So, but as I understand it from Mark, well, Hydro is a new company, and that's quite understandable. So, I would think then that it's now, well, it's a private company, so to speak, possibly with some shareholders now and some board members and things like that. And if that is the case, then it makes things a bit much more dicey and a bit complicated for what I'm saying to have to involve the community at this point. Yeah, because if it's a privately registered company and things like that, I can understand that they registered. You guys go registered in Malta or something like that. So, but that is okay. But then looking at something that Mark said with respect to the position. So you guys are circulating positions within yourselves.
We're changing.
Anyone can answer me.
I'm sorry, are you saying we're changing positions like within ourselves, or
Yeah, I think that Robert, if I see correctly on the website, from what I saw the last time, the current president or one of the persons who is the finance manager used to be the head of operations or the president or something, if I'm not correct.
Yes, that is correct.
But does that really work for transparency? Really? Does that really work? You move from president to finance? Does that really work for transparency? Even in a corporate environment, this is a real, a conflict of interest. There is a lot of conflict of interest here. I'm now talking from the position that Hydro Labs is a privately owned company. So I'm coming from that position, but don't you think that it's a problem?
In terms of, I'm kind of confused about your question in terms of transparency.
I mean, in terms of conflict of interest, that somebody moves from in a typical corporate environment, even if when shareholders vote or when even the board members vote, I mean, usually they hire from outside, or else when there's somebody who is known to be very competent within the team, then he's voted to retain his own position. That's how I
understand. I was thinking your mic is going crazy.
You know.
Yeah.
So for me, it's a little bit not really very, very, very clear, and it's really not clear, man. It's seriously not clear.
Sure. So I mean, I don't necessarily know what is unclear about the.
Okay, this is what is not clear. Okay, you have a privately owned company. Initially, of course, that you guys you registered in Malta, right? You went. I think that if I'm correct, you guys got registered in Malta. So I was under the impression, that we were still like a community-run project, whatever. But as I understand it, of course, every project with a blockchain that's on the blockchain that wants to use community is absolutely very, very critical and very important. Yeah. So I was speaking from the point of view that this is the Hydra that I used to know, like. 2 years ago, almost 2 years ago, So, but I think that things have changed. Its structure has completely changed. So I'm comfortable and okay with that. But in the sense that you want to create transparency, and you have 5 people, for example, who are managing the company, right? And then you're circulating somebody who is president gets voted to be the finance manager.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't work.
I don't understand why that doesn't work. It's not necessarily for transparency. in terms of what you're saying, the benefit for that is because he didn't feel like he was cut out for that specific position, so he wanted to do something that he was more comfortable with, and he was more comfortable with applying to be the finance manager. And by having new people coming into manager positions where you have different types of checks and balances, there necessarily isn't really any issues with transparency because everyone within the team is able to go and see all of the budgets and things like that. And I believe that we're planning to release different types of information in terms of what our what's the term for it called? Our financial statements, to be able to tell people, okay, like this is where we have different things budgeted. I don't know if that was that's planned to happen or not. I've always been in favor of it, but we're all able to go and see where things are budgeted within the team and where things are going. It's not like we have money other than hydro, so you're able to go and see where anything, especially in terms of the finance side, where money is going, because we are operating using a blockchain, so every single transaction is transparent on Etherscan. So everything that we're doing, obviously on the finance side, is completely transparent because you can go and you can verify where every single transaction is going, when it happened, how much it is, all on the blockchain, and that's the beauty of using that.
And so, who is in charge of the finances? Is the finance manager?
Correct.
Okay, and is he a single? Do you guys have a single signatory or double signatories?
So we have a multi-sig.
Okay, okay, you have a multi-sig.
Correct.
So it's not a single individual that's managing the finances.
That is correct.
Okay. When you guys are seeking out somebody to hold a specific position, right?
Mm-hmm.
For example, let's say now there's a new election and you want to apply for Mr. President or something, or Mr. Operations or something. Do you look for key specific educational background, for example, or do you look for key qualifications within that area?
So it depends. So first of all, when someone is going to apply to join a project or apply to be a part of the project in some form or fashion, they reach out to our human resource team, and they handle a lot of those applications. Initially, we can go and see them all on Trello if we wanted to, and we're obviously, as I mentioned before, we're taking in pretty much any type of applicant for different positions. Anyone is welcome to apply. We're not really going to say no, but obviously, if some people don't seem like they're cut out for the certain position, then it obviously doesn't end up going in that regard. And the other side of your question was, can you repeat the other part of your question again?
No, I'm moving on to the next one. There's simply no time. So I mean, you've really given me the basic idea of what I need to know.
Okay.
But it's simply related to this question that you've also answered. Now, if you say that you look for certain key qualifications, because I did a bit of Googling of you guys, and I checked out some of you guys and some of your qualifications, and I find out Marco studied psychology.
Sure.
And I see that he's a DJ.
Yes.
Okay, so I don't know how does that fit in?
Well, I don't know if there's things that I can actually bring up about Marco in terms.
Yeah, but I expected everybody to be here anyway, but I didn't know that.
Sure.
He's
well, in terms of Marco, he is currently preparing for a Category 4 hurricane about to hit West Palm Beach. So Marco and Lenny
The
are.
hurricane coming to the States?
Yes, it's about to hit Florida later tomorrow.
Okay.
So
All right.
give your thoughts and prayers over to those two guys.
Definitely.
But in terms of Marco and what he has done, not only in the blockchain industry, but there's I will let him go out and open up and speak about some of the things that he has done and some of the companies that he has already founded and companies that he has previously worked with.
Well, I checked one of the companies, but I couldn't find any specific information on the company anyway. The one that's listed on his LinkedIn page. Basically, I'm very good in finding stuff. That's I know how to find stuff, but I couldn't find nothing.
Yeah. So
but since it's not here, then maybe we skip it. Finance manager. Your education is in robotics and softwares.
Mm-hmm.
And how does that fit in, really? He moved from this. Are you the finance manager? Are you
No. I'm actually not the finance manager, but there's something I actually want to bring up here.
Sure.
I do understand that a number of times what you study in the university actually has a play in a number of things. But using myself as example, I will actually say that theory has been proved wrong over and over and over again. Now, let me quickly jump and say this. Okay, moving back to the last question you asked about how did the election, everybody come and tell us what they want to do, what you have done previously with the team, and what vision you have for the team. And sincerely, I must tell you, the previous election we had actually had a number of interesting discussions and makes sense. Okay, let me just jump back to what I was trying to say. I studied economics and retail management. If you have checked that, and okay, good. And indirectly or directly, I find myself doing research for since 2014, and I have learned quite a number of things, new things, great things, and meeting myself in community management. I've been in community management since 2017 with a number of projects in and out. So I've learned quite a number of things. And coming to Hydro, I came in as a community manager, but I have learned quite a number of technical things that I don't believe I would have learned even if I had gone to the university to study it. So, I can tell you with all open-mindedness that personally, Marco is beating my expectation. He has proven beyond reasonable doubt that I can actually manage the team. A number of things. If you notice the transition from Robert to Marco, so many people were asking, where is Robert in the community? Where? But Marco has actually proven to be the leader behind the scene and is trying to position himself as somebody that the community needs to see. Now, if you have noticed this drive for the past 3 or 4 months now, instead of community members coming to ask for Mike, they have been asking for Marco. It means actually position himself as, oh, this is me. Anything with hydrogen, ask me. Anything with hydro, ask me. Now, going back to Robert has actually brought a number of transparency to the finances. Everybody in the team, although there's a number of things we cannot put out to the community, but everybody in the team, if I just need to check my drive to see, hey, how much this balance getting this month, how much is this person paying, how are we managing this, everything is transparent and everybody is actually doing well. I would believe that from an African background that I am from, educational background is, hey, okay, you studied this, you studied that. Okay, from before the call actually started, we're discussing that, and I'm sure James is doing some courses in tech or something like that, mentioned that. But he's doing a very good work with social media and can do that to him. And one thing you need to understand, this joke with some critical roles on the team. Lenny has been an excellent guy with the marketing, and although he's not heading the marketing team because of his engagement, but maybe one of these days we have to welcome you guys to the Grow Squad Telegram group and see how great those guys are doing. If today you check Project Hydro's page on Google now, you see that we are already leading the path thanks to Lenny's initiative and the Grow Squad guys. The development guys is headed by the best of them all, thanks to Tim, thanks to Ash. A number of a number of things are actually coming in. I can tell you things is not.
Responsible for the fiasco.
If you're talking about the hydro pay stuff, okay, now let me quickly say this. I have been working with the tech guys on QA for a while now, and I must tell you, there's no new. Okay, now we are trying to beat meta transaction and all, and each time we saw some things. Okay, like now the whole top up functionality is done, but I was able to migrate from the Java backend to Node.js because what we have before is a little limiting in a way, and we don't want hydro pay to be limited or restricted to some functions. So we needed to go cross-border into operational where we have to, okay, guys, calm down. Let's step it down a little bit. If we say we want to meet up this particular deadline, we are going to mess it up all over again. And the first thing that happened was just a server thing. You know, a lot of new tech. There is no way you have a new tech and you have people managing in this. There is always a time to everything goes whoosh. Then we are trying to get it right. The app is working well now. The top of functionality is coming. We don't want to actually push it. We know everybody wants, are we going to get it by September? Yes, we get it by September. We're going to get it by October, we'll get it by October. But from the technical part of it, thank God team here can tell we expected AO to finish a little earlier than this, but the guys have actually done a number of things. So a number of technical things don't work the way Java was what we're using before. Okay, we need to migrate to this. I was hearing them say, okay, we need to migrate database from this to this. So the thing is, as the flow is going, we're actually trying to see how best to sustain it. It's not just build something, okay, we are sure it's working today, then we need to break down the whole system. Let me just bring a project to mind. I'm not sure, I don't know if you know about them, but Spectre actually did an ICU while back, if you heard about them, and looked up for Spectre. Okay, if you don't know about them, let me just let me use them as a case study what I'm trying to say. They did an ICU while back, and they locked up their token for a whole year. Now, when it was time for them to unlock the token, the technical guy said, if we unlock this token, I'm not going to meet up our future specification. So while they waited a whole year, they have to stop there and do a token swap. Now it takes them complete 1 year, I think 1 year, 3 months to lock it up and do a complete token swap. So that's to say that a number of things that the community wants, investors want, are something that you can get for them. But from the tech part of it, the number of modifications, because we are sure we are not going to be here for the next 1 year. Our goal, the reason why we are taking it a little bit slow is because we want to be here for the rest of our lives. Even when my son has been here disturbing the call, I want him to one day wake up and say, hey, my dad works with Hydro. Hydro love, Hydro. That's actually what we want to achieve. Thank you very much.
Well, thanks a lot for Ayo Deji. That was a very, very brilliant submission there, right there, that you put to me. The reason I asked for this these experiences and qualifications is that even though, like you very well stated, that sometimes what you studied or your experiences or working elsewhere may not necessarily be where you end up working eventually. But when you're working in real specific areas, tech world, financial world, and things like that, you can play around those areas because those areas are very, really, really technical and very, very require specific skills that are really required. But like you said, you can learn those, right? You can learn those. There's something you said along the way about the community noticing that certain team members were not really very active on Telegram. There's something I want you to understand, that Mike, the guy at Hydrogen, the guy has been with us for a very long time, all right? But you see this guy constantly on Telegram, right? constantly on Telegram. And even though you say that some people still come to ask of the other guy, well, that's true, but people still have a reference point to Mike, because he, even though he will tell you, well, I'm not really directly involved with Hydro, but the guy is constantly there. There's something about PR that is very important. That is, you need to see a face. You need to see somebody who represents somebody. That's why when I started this discussion, I singled out you and Mark. All right? Not because other people are not doing a great job. No, not because they are not working. No. Right? If another person was sitting in my shoe, he's probably going to have somebody else that he's going to talk based on their observations. Right? So I'm not trying to put down other team members that they are not doing a great job. All right? I know Saurav is doing a great job. Other people are doing a great job. The other people that have been community members are doing a great job. So I'm not trying to put down any person in particular, but it's just that when there's a face to see, when you have a CEO, you have a face of the company that people can make references to. Right? They come in, they ask, oh, who is the president? He said, there's no reason to tell us he doesn't. Somebody even told us that the president doesn't even need to have to be on Telegram. It's not nice. Somebody once said he doesn't need to be on Telegram. I know this conversation. I followed this conversation in particular, which is not right. If you are trying to set up a company to be, like you say, you want to be a company for the future and you have a corporate face. I know that sometime maybe you guys will get out of Telegram because a lot of a lot of projects have moved out of Telegram because they say, well, they really are not really interested in being in Telegram anymore, or the Telegram is not really their thing. They have made use of Telegram, and so they are moving ahead. They are moving on. So who knows? Who knows? Maybe you guys might feel the need that you don't need Telegram in the future. Having said this, though, I have one observation. I don't know if Mark or Ayodeji will have something to say about this. You guys know that one of the exchanges that we were on that actually made Hydro very popular was CoinEx. But I'm really, really surprised about the recent volume there, and I'm really, really very afraid that we're gonna get delisted from that exchange. Do you guys have anything do you have any comment on that, please?
With CoinEx, I don't think there's any chance of us getting delisted there anytime soon.
Okay, but you guys notice that actually I don't know, well, that is not really a problem with you. I don't know if it's an issue with you guys though, but we have we noticed a couple of bot trading there, not really a lot
CoinEx,
of.
yes, I reached out to their team about 3 or 4 days ago because we noticed about 2.5 weeks ago that they started running some bots and started wash trading. So I reached out to their team and said, hey, you guys need to stop doing this, and I haven't heard anything back, so I have to follow up with them again because the same thing was going on with BitForex, which we call bot forex, because typically on those exchanges you're going to get a lot of fake volume. So pretty much the exchanges that we do get a fair amount of real volume on CoinEx, but there is a large amount of wash trading going on there right now. You can go on the recent trades and just see them going back and forth. And we're reaching out to them to tell them to stop doing that. That is not our team. That is something going on either just a random user on CoinEx or internally from there. Because we are not doing that. We would get in trouble for doing that. So we are obviously reaching out to try and get that to be put to stop. And I'll have to reach out to their corporate team and get in touch with them to speak to them about that. Because I just reached out to some of their team members recently. And I
quickly, finally, Mark.
I'm sorry.
Could you? I said quickly, finally. Would you maybe speak within the team if the CEO could chair this meeting sometime?
This meeting that we're having right now?
Yes.
Yeah, so this meeting we're gonna post this video on YouTube.
I understand what he was trying to say. Okay, if not for the whole hurricane thing. Marco was supposed to lead this meeting. Then Lenny was supposed to join, and well, everybody has to get ready and make sure they are safe. We don't want to have any casualties in our and that's why they couldn't join the meeting.
Okay. Well, so far, guys, that's been my observations. If I think of anything else, I would say something.
Okay. I know that we've gone a little bit over time recently, but I know there's one more question that I was going to answer, and then we're going to get wrapped up. I know that Tim had some stuff that he wanted to show. Tim, we might want to schedule that for this coming week and do a little exclusive for that, so you guys have something pretty cool to look forward to from what Tim has been working on. And Carlos had a question about how much influence does hydrogen have with hydro? Does hydrogen still help hydro? So starting with the second question, hydrogen still does help out with the project. They are more so as advisors within like our organization. And hydrogen is essentially seen as just developers on top of the protocols. So they're building out this product called Molecule, which is an enterprise-grade API on top of our different protocols, so they can allow for different types of solutions to be built with their API. So those can range from identity solutions, security tokenization, different types of cryptocurrency payments, file management, authentication, and remittance payments. So that's all the different things that Molecule enables for, and what they're doing within the ecosystem. So I hope that answers your question. So I definitely do think and will say for sure that they are helping out with what is going on. That is for sure. But anyway, I think we're going to get wrapped up. It has been a pretty interesting call. It was definitely a little bit different getting some of the community members in here asking questions and I guess keeping us on our toes. So Cap and Gilbert, thanks for joining in here and being a part of this meeting. It was a pleasure. And thanks, Tim. Kyrul is in here. Carlos is in here. Who else do we have in here? Awesome. Well, thank all of you guys for joining in and being a part of the call. I think we're going to get wrapped up here. So, Tim, you can stop recording whenever you want.
Sounds good, guys. Thank you. We do appreciate it. This only makes us better, and it's great to hear these types of feedbacks, whether it's through Telegram, video chat, even a personal message. I know we do really embrace constructive criticism, and it only can make you better. So I think that's just sort of our standpoint on that. So we do appreciate you guys taking time out of your days to talk with us, and we're always going to look forward to the next way that we can interact with each other again.
Awesome. Well, everyone, it was a pleasure. I've actually got to get running. I have a call with Tim in about 2 minutes, and I was supposed to get some stuff done with Awasika right after this, but yes, that'll be put on pause. So I will talk to you guys later, and
awesome.
See you on Slack, or if you're from the community, I'll see you guys on Telegram. See you guys.
Bye-bye. Thanks for having me, guys.
Thank you.
Everything, guys.